Public Meetings Law PL 1975, Chapter 231. Notice of this meeting was posted in two newspapers, The Record and the Ridgewood News. Please be advised that the planning board rules the meeting should be concluded by 10 p.m. Pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Briskin.
Present.
Councilwoman Marsh. Here. Mr. Panzo.
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman.
Yes.
Mr. Barbara.
Yes.
Mr. Mazur.
Present.
Chairman Beltrame.
Here.
Can
Okay, can we get a motion for minutes from April 22nd, 2025? Any comments before we approve? Barbara, with a motion, you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have two resolutions regarding, first resolution for the Hilton 200 Tice Boulevard. Do we have any comments or any additions or subtractions on this, or we're good?
We did have some comments by the planner. I don't think material, but I'll go over them and have no problem making those corrections. I'll start with 200 Tice Boulevard, former Hilton Hotel. In paragraph 4, the first sentence, he wanted to change it to the findings stated in the report and testified to by Daniel Halvin. Okay, so I'll make that change.
Okay.
And then on paragraph 10, the finding and recommendation of DM, first sentence again, I'm sorry. The finding and recommendation of DMR's report as testified is that the delineated area, so I'll make that change. Those are the only two on that one.
Okay.
Do you want to vote on that now?
Yeah,
As amended?
Could we get a motion for 200 Tice Boulevard as amended?
Motion.
You want to go?
Yeah.
Roll call?
I just want to know on the record, Ms. Whitridge Carlucci is present now.
Okay.
Ms. Whitridge Carlucci.
Present.
We got a motion for 200.
We're doing roll call.
For the area in need for 200, for
Yes.
200 Tice.
Okay.
As amended.
Councilwoman Marsh.
Yes.
Mr. Panzo.
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman.
Yes.
Mr. Barbara.
Yes.
Chairman Beltrame.
Yes.
All right, approved.
Okay,
And then for 300 Chestnut Ridge, also known as the BMW area in need. I think there are just two very small comments that were.
yes, in paragraph 5. And I'll read the first part of that sentence. Mr. Halvin testified that the vacancy rate of the subject building is over double the US average. He wanted to add in 2022, prior to nationwide return to office efforts.
Gotcha.
Okay. And then the second change is in paragraph 12. Based upon the foregoing, Daniel Halvin, he put the word
Testimony.
testified instead of
Opined.
opined.
Right,
Okay, again, not material, but I'm happy to make the change.
So for the BMW 300 Chestnut Ridge area in need, resolution, can we get a motion to, as amended?
Motion. Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Whitridge Carlucci.
Yes.
Councilwoman Marsh.
Yes.
Mr. Panzo.
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman.
Yes.
Mr. Barbara.
Yes.
Chairman Beltrame.
Yes.
All right, it's approved.
Okay, and before I forget, I want to make an announcement. The application for 126 Broadway, which is a application involving multi-use, commercial use. That application is not going to be heard tonight. It was noticed and published for tonight. But due to our busy agenda, it's going to be carried to our next meeting in June. which is-
It may actually not even be in June, because in June, we may have a joint meeting, so it may be not until the July meeting.
it- okay.
All right.
It's possible it could be the July meeting and the rest,
July 22nd.
pardon me?
July
July
22nd.
is the meeting,
that'll be the
right,
meeting
but
that
the
gets carried
next,
to.
the next meeting is June,
June 24th.
And
right?
24th meeting is gonna be it's almost like a joint meeting that we're having with the mayor and council.
Okay, but I want to make it part of the announcement that the meeting is going to take place at the Tice Center in June.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so that's at Tice's Corner. So, is anyone here on that application for 126 Broadway? I don't- No one is answering in the affirmative, but nonetheless, I'll repeat the announcement. It was published and noticed for tonight, however, it will not be heard tonight. It will be heard either at our June 24th meeting or our July 22nd meeting. If it's at the June meeting, and you have to check our website, it will be at the Tice Center. And that's adjacent to Tice's Corner Mall up on the Chestnut Ridge Road. So anyone who's interested in that application, there'll be no further notice
And the agendas
or
will be
publication.
updated online. Okay. And we need a motion to go into closed session just for a few minutes to discuss something.
Yes, this is motion to discuss possible litigation. Okay,
All in favor?
okay.
When we go into closed, we have to,
No, don't hit that.
Don't
switch.
hit that
He's gonna
switch.
mute it,
Okay.
But he's gonna.
we shouldn't be long, just a couple minutes. There was no action taken during closed session. And our first application this evening is going to be 60 Shore Road. That is Todd Murphy and Melissa Lacunos.
Yes.
Fine.
Yes, very good. Good evening. My name is Lawrence Kleiner and I represent the applicants Todd Verby and Melissa McConis. This is for 60 Shore Road, block 1505, lot 1 on the borough tax map. It's in the R 22.5 zone, and this is an application to construct a new pool and patio in the rear yard. We're seeking 2 variances, minimum setback from rear property line to proposed patio. 20 feet is required, asking for 8.6, and minimum setback from rear property line to proposed pool, 20 feet required. Variance for 12.6. And if you please, I will call then first very brief witness, the applicant himself, Todd Verby.
Okay, wait, could you go over the variances again? Because I think I had. I had 3 variances. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry, that was a prior, okay. That's the prior application. Okay, so 2 new variances you have for the patio. It's 8.6 feet proposed, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and for the pool, 12.6 feet?
12.6.
Okay, all right. So I do have it right, okay. And why don't we mark your exhibits?
Certainly.
How many exhibits do you have?
A1 is going to be the plan. I provided the certificate of mailing. Do we mark that here or do we? Affidavit? I know he sounds
Mark the
different.
application, like one vote. We
Okay.
count that as.
Okay, that's fine.
Do we have the proof of service and proof of publication?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And do you want to mark the application A1?
Certainly.
Okay, application is A1. And proposed pool plan, we'll mark that A2. There a survey too? Survey superimposed on.
Yeah, I think it's just here, so. Right, you don't have a separate survey, Mr. Cronin?
No, I don't.
Yeah, it's just on this.
Right.
Superimposed on that, okay. All right, yeah, okay. So. The proposed pool plan was dated April 20th, 2022, last revised 11/23/22. How many witnesses do you have tonight?
2 witnesses.
Who were they?
Todd Verby. And we have the gentleman from Pool Town, Michael Panayotto,
Right.
who's going to construct the pool.
Okay. Mr. Freebie, you gonna be the first witness?
He is.
Okay, can you raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Could you state and spell your name for the record?
Sure, Todd Verbe, it's D as in Victor, E-R-E, B as in boy, E-Y.
Begin.
Okay, would you prefer if we stand or sit?
Your choice.
Okay. Mr. Verby, where do you live?
It's 60 Shore Road,
How long have you lived there?
about a year.
Who do you live there with?
Melissa O'Connell, my wife,
Okay. And where did you come from?
came from Hillsdale. I mean, I don't know how much history you want. I grew up as a kid in Rivervale. My parents are still in their home. Most of my adult life has been in Hillsdale. It was on 251 Pascack Road. And then when Melissa and I came together, we moved to 79 Arcadia Way, both in Hillsdale. And ultimately, we've now moved over to Bluefield Lake.
And growing up and as an adult, did you always have a swimming pool?
As a kid, no, but as an adult, my entire life, we've had pools, we kind of called it the magnet, it's just where, you know. Family always would gather, we guaranteed kids were always gonna come back, and so, yeah, we've always had a pool.
Okay, and you obviously like to have a pool in your backyard, correct?
100%.
Okay, and why is that important to you?
It's just, it's our little place, we are not pool club people, I like to golf, I like to come home. Go sit in my backyard with my grill and my TV and my pool and. I believe Melissa feels the same way, and again, the kids usually are coming around and. It's just where we enjoy being.
Is your family expanding?
Well, yeah, the kids are young, but I mean, grandkids are probably in the horizon over in coming years, but yeah.
Okay, and so it's important to you to have a swing.
100%. 100%.
All right, nothing further this witness.
Okay. You have someone who's going to address the.
We have to ask if the
Well, sure, any,
board members, any questions for the
sorry about that.
witness? To the public, for any questions for the witness?
Motion.
We need to ask, we need to open up to the public.
Yes, yeah.
We need a motion to open to the public.
Motion to.
Thank you. Second? All in favor? Any members of the public that would like to cross-examine the witness? None. Now we can close.
Motion to close.
Thank you. Mr. Kleiner, you can come, your next witness, please.
Thank you. We'd
Someone
like,
raise their hand or no?
No.
No, okay.
we'd like to call Michael Panagiotis.
Hello. Thanks. Nice to see you guys again.
Well,
How's everybody?
All right, and I don't remember how to spell your last name.
I'll spell for you. It's P as in Peter, A, N as in Nancy, A, Y, I, O, T as in Tom, O, U. And it's pronounced Panagiotis.
Panagiotis.
That's why I don't remember. Can you stand and raise your right? hand,
Yes.
please? Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Mr. Panagiotis, by whom are you employed?
Pool Town Inc.
And what is Pool Town?
It's my family business.
Okay, and
We're pool installers. We operate in New Jersey, all over the state. I primarily, myself, I'm the North Jersey expert in my company,
how long has your company been in business?
since '86.
Okay, and how long have you worked for the family business?
Technically, since '86.
Okay.
No, I've been employed in swimming pools since I was 14.
Okay, and how many swimming pools have you been involved in construction?
I want to say thousands. I'm not sure the exact number.
Have you ever offered testimony in front of any land use board like this?
This one.
Okay, when was the
I
last?
think we could, we would be fine with him being an expert.
Oh, good, okay.
To avoid that process.
All right.
We
Then I'd
had
like
him
to-
before.
All right, and I'd like to qualify him as an expert in pool installation and construction. Okay, you're very welcome. I'm going to show you what we previously marked as A1. These are the engineering. plans.
We want that
A2?
A2, sorry, A2. Well, before we do this, you're familiar with 60 Shore, correct?
Yes.
What's in the backyard?
So they have an easement that takes up a good portion of their yard in the usable space that the pool would actually be designated in under normal circumstances. And what we're seeing here is that because of this easement, we have to push the pool back. And the only place that we really can fit that in is right behind the house. And in order to allow for drainage to be able to be trapped by the seepage pit before going into the easement into adjacent properties.
You're aware that there previously had been a swimming pool, correct?
I was told that, yes.
Okay. And, okay, so can you describe what you're gonna, the application?
So just keeping it really simple, we're gonna be cutting into the rear property line, or in this case, I'm not sure, yeah, it's the rear property. So we're gonna be cutting into the rear property line, we need a little bit of space, we're doing the minimum coverage around the adjacent sides, so the rear towards where Arcadia Road is and then towards the house on Shaw. All of those are gonna be the minimum 3 foot concrete envelope essentially, or pavers that go into that section to help water run off, but not too much patio that it goes into the house or into the adjacent properties.
Okay, and the pool setback is proposed to be 12.7 feet, where 20 feet is required. You're not familiar with that, correct? Why is that necessary to construct it this way?
Well, in this particular case, are you talking about the zoning ordinance? So why is it 20 feet, or is it gonna be?
No, why it's less than 20?
So that's because we don't have the space on the side of the property where we would normally be able to put the pool. And that's because of the amount of setback that there is. It's a 20 foot setback. And then the zoning, the drainage easement is 40 foot. So we would be able to put this pool here if the season were.
Okay. And to not have that would be a hardship, correct?
Correct, absolutely.
Okay. And there's a second variance sought, and that's gonna be the patio setback. We're asking for 8.6, where 20 feet is required. Why is there an 11.4 departure?
It's the
What's
same,
departure?
same
Okay,
exact reason. We just don't have the space here. And this is affording the best build with the 3 foot collar or with a 3 foot apron around the pool. And then that's gonna help protect the walls of the pool. So if we go more smaller than that, maybe like a foot coping or it's anything like that. We could rust out the wall pretty easily. So having the 3 foot apron allows the water to drain past the area where we've excavated onto what looks like virgin.
and the impervious coverage is gonna actually be increased because of this, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and you've had an opportunity to review the borough engineer's report that he submitted to the
I
board,
did.
correct? And they're asking because there's an increase in impervious coverage by 1245 square feet, a seepage pit system would be proposed to accommodate.
and
Right,
we see that here on the plan.
okay. Well, what about that particular seepage pit?
So that in normal cases is for the house. So we
Okay.
have one here, and I'm assuming that if that's in existence, that is for the house and for what's going on with the house before it goes into the drainage easement. So if the township engineer is asking for another seepage pit, that's because we're adding coverage and they'll need water to go into that seepage pit as well because of the capacity of the original seepage.
And you're obviously certainly, and the homeowner is certainly willing to comply with that, if that's a requirement.
Absolutely, we were discussing a roundabout pricing, and it depends on what size seepage pit we end up putting in here based on the original.
Okay. Anything else about the application? Let's,
Not that I can think of.
nothing further.
All right, so just a quick question. The plan looks like it's showing 4 feet, but you just testified 3? Is that
I
correct?
did, that is, so I'm going based off of what I usually sell. If there's a 4 foot patio here, that is what the engineer put.
Okay, do you have any, are you doing anything with the patio?
We're, I believe contracted for the pool and the patio.
Okay.
So if we do anything with the patio, we would make it the township spec.
Okay. And there's obviously no variances.
Correct.
Okay,
Well, I mean,
Other than-
the only variance is to the edge.
edge, correct.
So is it a 4 foot or a 3
So
foot?
3 foot is our standard apron,
Right.
that helps with everything. What's put on here was 4 foot. We could make it 3 if
Right, but what we're applying for, what the application is being
Is
presented for
4
is
foot.
for 4. I just want to be clear on your testimony.
Yes,
Our testimony is for 4 foot apron, which is what gives you the 8.6 feet on the rear yard,
correct,
right? If it was 3 foot, then you would have 9.6 feet.
absolutely.
And Anthony, you've already reviewed this with regards to drainage?
So we did a preliminary review on it. If it was approved, they would have to supply supporting calculations, and also the recommendation was for some sort of perimeter system around the patio, whether it's
Something to retain the water from around
There's something to get it from the patio to the pit, so that it's not sheeting off, so that would be, part of the soil moving review, we would look for the engineer to incorporate that into their final design.
And we would certainly comply with that.
And then from an elevation point of view, are we going the right way with elevation, just out of curiosity? I would imagine we're going towards that drainage easement in general, the elevation. Agreed, but my point is that the elevation from your patio that's surrounding the pool has to drain towards the drainage easement and the seepage pit, correct?
Yes,
It's just basically, so we just have, we have two variances which are just side yard, or rear yard.
Correct.
Because it's a corner property, so they're, basically, he's got two front yards, right? He's got a front yard on
Yes.
Arcadia, he's got a front yard on Shore.
I'm not sure.
I can recall, I don't think the homeowner would know where the private pool was.
Exactly, no.
It was
Okay.
around where the existing, where they put the seepage pit when they built the new home.
We do have a survey.
Yeah.
If you want to see it,
It was.
it's not a great
It
copy.
was in the drainage easement,
Yeah, that is where the, yeah, thank you.
but they can't put it back.
And I neglected to have testimony elicited that is in fact a corner lot.
Any other questions for the witness?
Do you have any need to take down any trees or anything?
Not to my knowledge, that would be a better question for Mr. Buriti.
No, it's why the fence is coming up, they're rolling in.
Yeah, that's basically
It's
just,
all wide open.
I didn't know what I see the equipment and things, sometimes you can get things in and out and not.
Yeah.
It is pretty much an open lot, just off the top of my head, I don't remember if there was anything in excess.
No.
Any other questions from the board?
We never saw any like emails or anything from the neighbors.
How about it?
All right. What's the size of the pool?
So it's a 14 by 20,
Pardon me?
14 by 20
14 by 20. Liner pool or
line of pool.
what type of filter?
Sand.
Where's the equipment going, just out of curiosity?
So that was something that I was talking with Mr. Buriti about. So when I was originally contracted for this was after the engineering plans were proposed or already completed. So one of the things that I noticed is that the proposed equipment is
Kind of far.
really far. It's unreasonably far. So what I was telling him, and I said that I don't think this is gonna be something of concern because we're not gonna be encroaching on any of the setbacks. So as long as we put it in an area that's closer to where the seepage tank is and where it says 72.3, in that vicinity, we could close it off with some trees and some bushes and things like that and make it not visible, but to put it around the side of the house, especially closer to the front yard, it's not something I recommend.
How far is the decking from the house or that stoop area with?
So, the.
Believe it's 10
stoop area,
feet.
I'm not able to make that out either, but it looks, from the drawing, it looks like it's about 10 feet. No, sorry, 17 feet, I apologize, and then it's 4 feet, so from the stoop's 10. So it's gotta be like 3 feet, 4 feet. Looks like.
So this is 17.
How far from
How far is this?
the deck? Yeah, from the stoop. 4 feet, he said.
This thing here.
Yeah, if we do the math, I'm just doing this based off the math, so from the house, it's 17 feet total. The engineer did not indicate the size of the stoop, but just from the sizing of what the patio looks like, it looks like 4 feet. And then the space between the stoop and the patio is looking very, very similar, so it's gonna be 4 to 5 feet.
That you've toured this property?
Say again?
You visited this property?
I was online, I drove past the property, I did not meet with him in the backyard or any. So it's funny because I usually start all my consultations using Google Earth. And, so that's how we started, and then he and I went back and forth for a long time. He ended up running into my uncle randomly, who's also a pool guy, who recommended him to us when he already had this all built. So I'm coming in for the variance because I literally collected deposited today, so I apologize if I don't have all the.
Okay, question for you, if you don't know the answer, maybe
Yeah.
call back another
Yeah,
one.
sure.
Okay, who would, the buffering, this is very close to the neighbor's property there.
Correct.
Are you aware of the buffering of landscaping? that's there?
I'm not, but I
We
think
can,
that.
yeah, we can address that.
We'll finish,
Yeah.
we'll finish with him and then we'll
Yeah.
get, you can recall the.
If it's all right, I can actually pull out my phone and take a look at satellites. This is what I do online too. I don't know if that'll be any help to you guys.
Just want to establish something on the record.
Sure.
Isn't this
In the rear yard?
The actual next structure, I don't know what the setback is on the neighboring property.
I can tell you right, the setback, I don't know, but just judging from Google, the adjacent building from the property line is about 30 feet.
They have a driveway.
They have a driveway in between it, separates his side property line, and then there's a driveway, and then it's the garage.
Yeah, it starts with the driveway and then it goes into the backyard.
Correct.
Should be at least 20 feet from a side yard, because that's what the minimum. Any other questions?
I just have, my only concern would be that the seepage pit or some other mechanism prevents any type of runoff into other properties that they're not already getting.
Yeah, so I think that's why the engineer asked us to have some type of perimeter drain around the actual pool itself and the patio, and then we could tie that into the existing infrastructure or new sewage pit or whatever.
And that certainly wouldn't be a problem.
And I don't think that's a good problem, you know.
Just roughly what would that consist of us,
So if you're talking about the seepage tank or
or the drainage?
the drainage, perforated pipe, mesh, gravel, just basically doing a French drain all the way through to the seepage tank area.
Would that be subterranean, or would that be like a trench drain around?
I was thinking your trench drain, subterranean.
Yeah, like sometimes they use like decorative little rock as an edge, and the water goes in there into the perforated pipe, and then you
Okay.
tie that into that pit. That's commonly done. Not the only way, but it's one of the ways.
It's one of the ways, you know, I think that's, as long as it's approved by the board, any kind of training mechanism to go with the committee. That would work.
One of the comments about the drainage, we do have a review letter from Neglia, Anthony Phillips, our engineers here tonight, and which will mark WCO 1, but he has recommendations in that report for perimeter drains, which the board can make as a condition if the board acts favorably on the application. And they'll also need the seepage pit and the soil moving permit from the town, and depending upon the amount of soil, it could require a county or soil moving permit. So that's what the board can take into consideration if there's a motion to be compliance with those requirements in the Neglia review letter.
Any other questions from the members? We get a motion to open to the public regarding this witness,
Motion. Second.
all in favor? Any members of the audience have any questions with regards to Mr. Paniotu?
It's great to me.
I don't see any. I don't have glasses on, but I don't see any.
They're all waiting.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
You'd like to,
Yeah, I'd like to
Recall your
recall
client.
the owner.
Thank you very much.
Todd, you're still under oath?
Yes.
Okay. There was a question as to the buffer with the neighbors. What have you done or what's proposed?
Yeah, it's completely privatized with evergreens, there's a full. Mature line across the entire back.
Okay.
That's.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay.
What's the elevation of these evergreens?
Ranging from 15 feet to 20 feet.
They're the green giant. already.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's see if they-
right down the line, they did it.
Good job for these.
Oh.
Keep the deer.
Yeah, absolutely.
you can make mention of it. You know, that's a good area.
So if we look, just for the board's reference, right, if we look at WCL exhibit 1, which is Neglia's letter. You can kind of see where the pool would go in reference to the neighbor's property. That was a question I believe that you had brought up, right? Where the pool would go. You can see the diagonal of the house and where the pool would start. Looks to be, you know, just about where the end of their driveway would be.
That's correct.
The Neglia's letter?
Yeah, on page 2.
Yeah, but it's a lot then.
I don't think so. I think that's where the original pool was. Before I think when they did the addition to this home, they filled in the old pool. And then they did that addition, which is the diagonal part. And I don't know much about the drainage easement, but it's unusual to have a 40-foot drainage easement. You know, so. Do you know anything about the drainage easement? Is there any piping or anything underground, or is it just runoff? You have no idea.
I'm sorry.
Anthony, do you know anything?
I don't have any mapping of it, but we are working on mapping, so.
Right. I mean, isn't that even unusual for us to have a 40-foot drainage easement?
Usually they're a little narrow, more narrow than that, but
10, 15 even?
depends on what's there.
Any comments on whether or not it would be advisable to put a pool in that area?
We wouldn't recommend putting a pool in the drainage.
No.
I guess technically you have to reopen it to the public.
Second.
In favor? Any other questions for this witness? I don't see any.
Motion to close the public.
Second.
We have to open for any comments.
We do, okay.
Motion to open for comments.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Does anyone have any comments with regards to this application whatsoever, for or against?
Motion to close the comments.
There's the motion to approve or a
Motion
motion
to approve.
Okay, and then is that with the conditions or recommendations in the Neglia review letter?
Yes.
Okay. So that will be with compliance with the recommendations, Neglia review letter. Of February 13th, 2025.
No, like I said, I guess my.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. Mr. Briskin? Yes or no to approve?
Yes.
Ms. Whitridge Carluccio,
Yes.
Councilwoman Marsh,
Yes.
Mr. Penza,
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Mr. Barbara.
Yeah.
Mr. Mazur. Chairman Bellavine.
Yes.
It's approved.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, we'll have more.
Thank you, everybody.
One down.
Good. It's been a long time. Maybe I tried to use with them a few months ago. Yeah, yeah, he's with, down in Jersey City. He's with, yeah, Jason Linder, yeah. Whatever happened to O'Meara? Whatever happened to O'Meara? I know, he's.
I was got scared you weren't here. I texted Lori.
College.
Yeah.
Tonight, right? She's like, yep, all taken care of.
I know, I don't know. I looked for him once and I found out he's them online, so
Oh,
Yeah.
he wouldn't be online.
oh, good to.
It's.
Yeah. All right.
It's Liz.
Hmm?
It's Liz.
Yeah, I will. Take care.
Okay, our next applicant is Matthew and Allison Grossman for 11 Oakwood Drive. I believe being represented by counsel.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Matthew DePizzi on behalf of the applicant. As the chairman just noted, the project site is 11 Oakwood Drive. Project site is on the easel that we have displayed this evening that Chris Lopez, our architect, will speak to in a moment. But just a quick summary about what the application involves, the existing lot is undersized as to width and area. We require 150 feet of width in the zone, and the lot has approximately 110. Notes here. The area requirement is 22,500, and the lot only has 20,545. And as you can also see, the lot lines aren't really parallel to one another. The reason why I raise these issues is it's the confluence of these existing conditions that brings us before the board this evening. We're simply seeking to construct a covered patio in the rear yard. An extension of basically creation of a low roof along the right rear portion of the dwelling. That's going to follow the existing building wall along the right side. So although the covered patio is not getting any closer to the side yard than the existing building, because the lot line tapers in as you head towards the rear, we need a side yard setback variance for that particular element, excuse me. And because the lot's undersized as the area, we need variances as to building coverage and impervious coverage. As you'll hear from Mr. Lopez, it's not traditional building coverage because it is open on several sides of the structure that we're looking to create and is of a very low lying height. And we need a combined side yard setback variance, and the zone has a combined side yard setback variance requirement. And because we are slightly intruding into the required yard, we need a combined side yard setback variance as well. Again, everything relates to just the desire to create this covered patio in the rear. Mr. Lopez from Plan Architecture designed the plans that we're going to discuss this evening. And if the board doesn't have any questions of me, I can have him call and go through the plan set.
Before you start, we have proof of publication, proof of service. We do, okay.
Chris?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Chris Lopez on behalf of Plan Architecture. Testifying for Matt and Austin Grossman here. I'm letting them drive as Matt alluded to. So.
Way to start.
Sure, sorry. Yeah.
You swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. State your full name and business address.
Sure, Chris Lopez, Plan Architecture, 267 Pascack Road, Washington Township, New Jersey, 07676.
Just very quickly, could you give us a benefit of your qualifications?
Yeah, sure. I am a registered architect in the state of New Jersey. My license is in good standing. I have testified in front of many boards in Bergen County and across New Jersey. Total Haworth, Oradell, Harrington Park, River Edge, Washington Township, Paramus, etc.
Okay, before we begin, just I actually didn't even know there was an attorney on this, so I pre-marked the exhibits. The application would be A1. There was a photo exhibit with 4 photos. That I marked A2. There was a survey. Which I marked A3, and then the conceptual design by the architect. Which was 5 pages. I marked it as one exhibit, A4, that has VA 000 to VA 400. 100, 200, 300, 400. I see you have the VA 000 up on the board.
Yeah, all projects are here. So yeah, as Matt alluded to, 1-story covered exterior patio. Clients would like to use the space, help us in new wealth outside. Everyone's enjoying their outside amenities here, so their yard is very flat, very plain, and they feel the need to bring the inside out. And in doing so, we try to design something cohesive to the existing house, minimal in scale to the adjacent properties, and as open as possible. You can see here in the renderings, this side and the rear side, this left, which would be east side and south side, completely open. The west side, which is adjacent to the property, these renderings don't fully, obviously they're for illustrative purposes, don't fully indicate. There are several green giant arborvitaes across this fence line here between them and the neighbor. But even still, I'll flip to the elevations. Here you can see again, so this is the east side, this is the south side. I just want to make a quick point before I get to the plan. And that we tried to make this as cohesive and as possible. Again, existing house ends here. This is the extension that we're adding on this side. Once again, 1-story. Trying to be as minimal as possible with relationship to the side yard property line and obviously adjacent property. So
Chris, looking at the elevation there, what's that height?
yes, so the proposed height is plus or minus 30 feet from grade. Our ridge is 14.5 feet from grade. Which is, roughly 1.5 foot down from the first floor elevation that's existing. So as you step out, there are 2 steps here down to this at grade patio.
So grade to ridge is 14 feet?
14.5, 14.6, yeah.
Thank you. Can you take us to the floor plan, please?
Sure. So existing photos, existing floor plan here, again, just. We want to obviously be cognizant of our budget, minimize impact to the existing home. We're turning these 3 windows into the doors coming out, centering our element on this element here, and just extending outward towards the rear yard.
Can you tell us which sheet you're referring to? right
Sure,
now?
I'm sorry. This is VA 100, existing first floor plan and photos. Here's that fence line with the green line there. So once again, existing house, not hatched in white, everything here, existing patio. We're looking to come out these 3 windows that were here, changing them into sliding glass doors. This will become a parlor off of the proposed covered living space, proposed covered patio, if you will. The addition itself is 26 feet by 18.5, 18'7". So again, not being egregious with scale and whatnot, cognizant of our parameters. Just trying to maximize the covered space for the client.
Thank you, Chris. I don't have any further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Just the bump out on that drawing, is that a fireplace?
Yes, that's a fireplace, exactly. Solid fuel wood burning.
Anyone else have any questions for the witness? Look at the survey for a second. This property is kind of set, I'll say, almost crooked on the lot. Is that why we're encroaching just in the rears?
Encroaching on the side, not
Yes.
the rear, yes,
Right,
correct.
but on the rear section of the.
I'm sorry, yes,
Of this proposed addition, it's just catching the, the right rear corner of it.
southwest edge, yeah,
Southwest edge of it,
exactly.
but the corner of the property is not, right?
The
existing
corner
house
of the
is
existing
just
house is barely there.
barely
yeah,
there.
Yeah.
Not just the side yard, but you have an existing non-conforming as well, correctly?
Yes,
On,
Well-
on the site,
on the east side, yes, I don't think the aggregate is.
so you got an existing non-conforming of
Yes,
43 existing.
that's correct.
Which should be 60, so you have an existing non-conforming there, then you're gonna have the side yard under 20. And then I guess the lot coverage is going up a little bit.
Yep, and the building.
It's 4, right?
Correct.
I mean, the building's almost de minimis.
It is.
Yes.
And Mr. Chairman, the impervious coverage, if we had the required lot area, we would not need a variance for impervious coverage, so it's directly related to the size nature.
The undersized nature of the lot.
2.2%, 452 square feet.
Any other questions from the members? Motion open to public.
Motion open to the public?
Second.
All in favor? Any members of the public have any questions or comments?
Yeah,
For
I
the
have-
witness? If you could just step up, state your name and your town.
Sure, my name is Joseph Santoro, I live at 17 Oakwood Drive, next door to 11 Oakwood.
Okay.
And I had 3 comments, 3 concerns. The first one is the water runoff. Right, because that
Actually,
property,
we do it, I mean, you can. You
Just
know,
cross-examining the witnesses on who we be.
yeah, usually we do it in 2 phases, although if you want to change that for this application, you can. Generally, we do questions of the witness first,
okay,
and then comments second, okay?
Let me just ask, you have, you don't have any other witnesses, or if you do you mind if not? Okay,
okay, so I just address the questions to the.
you can address them in any way you want.
Okay, all right, so basically I have 3 comments, 3 questions. The first one is the water runoff, because that property is a lot higher than my property, which is to the side, right? And also the gutters on that house, they're above ground too, so the water kind of runs off. So that's my first question. What's the story with the water?
If the project is approved, we'll have to submit a drainage plan as part of our building permit package. And that'll be reviewed by the building department for adequacy purposes.
And will there be like seepage pits and that type of thing?
Correct.
Okay, so this, you will have them.
It'll be, we'll have to be provided as required by the board.
It would have to comply with the engineer's requirements. If the board sees fit to approve,
Okay.
it would comply with the engineer's requirements for drainage. And I don't know about the existing conditions of the house, but any new additions or improvements or impervious that was added would have to be maintained on site with seepage pits or other means.
Okay, because right now it sits a lot higher and it's slanted towards my property.
Right, but we can't, just to be clear, we can't force them to, if they're doing surface drainage now. Off of the runoff from the existing house. The only thing that the engineer will be able to have them add. For drainage will be for the new addition square footage of impervious,
Okay. But
right? So it's not gonna get any worse is the idea.
And I theoretically it should get better if they capture the
Some additional off the other roof.
the new thing.
Right.
The engineer's here tonight, do you have a particular issue or problem? With drainage at the present time?
Well, right now, basically, when I did my house, they required me to put 3 seepage pits, slant the property towards those pits. There's like manhole covers, there's the whole thing.
Right.
So there's a lot of runoff because the block slopes down. So when it rains a lot, you see the water like getting into those grooves and they go into the seepage pits.
Well, that's on your property.
Right, that's on my property, but when you look at their property, it slants towards my property and.
Just based on elevation because.
Yeah, based on elevation and slope.
Correct.
I mean, you put in a roof there that's gonna be approximately 500 square feet. I'm sure water's gonna come off that roof.
And that's the point. The engineer, if the
Right.
board approves, the additional square footage of that roof will be maintained in some sort of a seepage.
Okay. But we're not.
Pausing is no, do not change my default speaker to my headphones. I don't have it. Let's see. Motherfucker, bro. Okay, let's see. Maybe try Hey, I'll call you back. Yeah, do you want me to have just audio on the screen recording? I could probably see if that works. Except the camera won't turn on. I don't know what happened to it. All I can, like that type of camera, it's just running through. I'm trying one more thing, but it just runs through. Turn it.
Requirement is 20 feet, so 1.4 feet.
Right, it's more about the coverage.
The coverage, the building coverage?
Coverage is, that's a decent amount.
You talking about the building coverage?
Yeah, building,
Okay, the building coverage, the limit's 15%, they're proposing 17.2. So I believe that's 2.2%. 452 square feet. So,
but pretty much the entire structure is above the required amount, right?
Coverage is 30.8, where 30 is allowed to 0.8%.
That's the surface.
That's what I'm getting at. They're
That's
on,
the
they're
surface.
on the truly the fine line.
Right.
If they were able to bend the wood a little bit, they wouldn't even be here tonight.
No, but of course they would be, because it's for the structure.
They would be under, if they tweaked it, right? You want to spend hours, they could get this to where the coverage is fine. They're right, 1.41 thing, you could tweak this thing. Or yeah, it's so close.
Right, I think
just
the way I understand it is you got the building.
There's two different
and then you got
coverages,
the
right?
Building
So
improvement
the overall
coverage.
surface coverage is, we'll call it de minimis at point.
Right,
eight,
that's fine.
But the lot coverage, which is where the building comes up, is supposed to be 15, they're at 17.2 proposed.
So pretty much the entire structure.
Which is about 400, so they're, you know, a good 60 to 70% of the structure would be the variance that they're requesting, which is why they're requesting it. But again, if they had a full-size lot here, they likely wouldn't need a variance whatsoever.
They don't. Right, and I'm the one that's get affecting the most, right, because it's gonna be right in my sidewalk. My patio is literally gonna be lined up to this back wall. And I guess that's why the back wall is being put there. That's why I'm a little baffled that they wouldn't put like trees there.
well, I guess the question is, the 1.4 feet, is that considered substantial? The fact that it's 1.4 feet
Into that side yard.
it's closer than it should be, 1.4 feet.
I don't think the 1.4 feet is the.
Mr. Chairman, we're now having a conversation with the board. I think we've gone beyond public comment.
I think it's the size of the structure in that back wall. Not the foot, the 1.4.
Yeah.
Feet there.
Right, I mean, ultimately, we've heard your comments. If you have any other questions of the witness, you know.
No, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public have any questions, comments regarding this witness or this application?
Motion closed.
Second.
All in favor? Any comments or any questions?
Do we want to use happy neighbors and maybe address some type of buffer?
Has there been any alternative structure explored that would make impact? Such will not result in requirement for variance, such as placement of this structure, possibly towards the center of the building, and if there has been some sort of design considered, why wasn't an alternative design considered, or if one was considered, why was this the one that was ultimately proposed?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll reference the existing floor plan back on PA01. VA100, sorry. So the way that the existing back of the house is configured with current family room, just design intent and purposes and flow, suited itself to be in this location with this width. They have a barbecue here currently that they have to come around this way and go use that barbecue. So we wanted to streamline that. We added the door here and door here in order to give them a space that was easily accessible from the kitchen. Their breakfast tables here, this is where the family eats all of their meals currently, and they did not want to circulate around this and put it right in the center here. So naturally, this became, with these existing steps and doors, the natural place to put that. And I'll go through
Another door over there, right? The left.
Yeah, that's exactly over here, correct. But again, the way they use this current patio, this was. There's nothing currently in this section here, so to minimize impact of this patio. Once again, on the exterior, never mind the flow and the function of the house, but this was again the natural place for it.
So, but you're moving the outdoor grill into the structure, right?
Correct, yeah.
So really the purpose was not to reduce patio size.
Well, it's not to reduce patio size, but to affect the existing usage of the patio. Correct.
And so now we have two seating spaces of the picture in the proposed plan?
Correct, open and covered, yes.
And if it were, you could have adjusted the structure, placed directly off the back of the where the existing, I guess, breakfast area is.
Here.
It would not, setback, correct? That would be eliminated?
Essentially, the only variants that would be eliminated are if the 1.4 westerly setback.
That was just right, the side yard variance requirement of
1.4 feet.
Correct, but Chris, it's 1.4 feet, how many square feet? And it's just a sliver of the patio.
That's
It's not
correct.
the entire run of the patio, so approximately how many square feet is violated in the side yard by a foot?
So it is roughly.
This looks like it's a fire.
It really is, I mean.
But respectfully, if you move it to the center of the house, you're still gonna see the same structure.
Correct, the
What's
site,
practicality here?
the site,
The same.
the appendage will remain the same.
Right, but it won't be as close to you. That back wall won't be as close.
Six, one half dozen the other.
And if I may, conventional structure, pitched roof and whatnot. This exterior element affords that ability, where we have these windows here over the breakfast area. Now I have to do a more flat roof, granted it's over.
I'm just speaking from practicality.
No, there are a number of reasons why we put it where we put it.
So, Mr. Chairman, it's about 40 or so square feet that's violated in the side yard setback.
Did he say that?
No, I'm scaling about 20 square feet.
20 square feet?
Yeah, it's a.
That's impacting the 1.4 feet.
That's correct, yeah. Scaled off the drawings, obviously, I'm happy to provide that more accurately, but.
Just for your drawing, is that side wall, is that solid windows too?
No, actually, we're proposing these to be openings that are actual windows, if you will, correct, yeah.
I'll ask, is there any landscape plan?
Not yet, no.
Will there be any landscape plan
We intend to landscape around, yes, but
around the structure or?
correct, I mean, we certainly
I see
saw.
that there's some trees going towards the yard at the end of the structure. I would imagine maybe to add a couple more trees on the other side wouldn't be that difficult.
On the west side referring to?
Possibly.
If the
Try to
door
sit
still
with the
requires
neighbor.
it.
Right.
Just to create, yeah.
It's being near the neighbor. If
Right.
you're happy neighbors.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, there is existing intervening landscaping, we did
Right.
review that, and that's why we thought existing is more than reasonable to provide a buffer between the structure and the adjacent properties, right? We have anything additional shown, we continue to think it's reasonable.
Any other questions for witness?
Second.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
All right, so the application, basically as presented. As submitted.
We have comments in the negative review letter. April 2nd, 2025.
Whatever technical comments there are will certainly be addressed.
Is that subject to the comments in the negative review letter?
Motion to approve subject to the comments of the other.
Would be like abandoning things. Right? Because we can,
I mean, we can,
no,
can't really design landscaping.
No.
We can require it to be, in compliant with our engineer's letter. At some point, if the two neighbors want to get together and discuss landscaping, it would be up to them.
Well, it is, side yard variance, and then get rid of the condition. I mean, if Fran Ryan was here, he might have some ideas. He'd always invoke the shade tree committee. Right. Make suggestions, come to the board.
can we leave that song open? Can we leave that open, or do we?
No, I mean, you've got an application that's being presented, we have to vote on it. You've got a motion on the table to approve. As submitted, right?
As submitted, subjected to the engineer's report.
Subject to the engineer's letter.
Second.
With a second. I'll call for a vote.
Mr. Briskin,
Yes.
Ms. Richards, Carlucci,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Marsh.
Yes.
Mr. Panzo,
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Mr. Barbara.
Yes.
Mr. Mazur. Chairman Bellamy. It's approved.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Engineer.
Have a good evening.
I think I may. So this next application, I'm gonna have to recuse myself, it's a local neighbor. I'm gonna hand over the chairmanship to Mr. Kaufman to handle.
I'm not suggesting.
I understand that you're not giving me out, but I can't stay here.
Bart, come on out.
Congratulations. You gotta sit in the seat.
You gotta sit in the
But at school, I got it back. I got you. How are you?
Living the dream, and you?
Same thing. Same thing, you got to fill big shoes.
Yeah.
Trying to do our best to work together.
Okay, let's get right to it. Do we have, proof of publication, proof of service? Okay, Mr. Richard Smart. I pre-marked your exhibits as follows, so if you talk about them, you can refer to them. A1, your construction plans. A2 are the exterior elevations. A3 for the notes, specification, site plan, and code analysis. And A4 is the application. Actually, something's wrong here. Because I have a survey too. Yes, sir. We're fine. Okay, how many witnesses do you have tonight? Just one witness. Can you raise your right hand, sir? You swear to tell the truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you well? Yes, sir. So this is your application for your rear yard variance to construct a garage. 360 square feet, right? All right. Pardon me? I call it a shed. Our ordinance calls it a garage. Because of the size.
Large, yeah.
Yes.
No, I'm just looking at my markings. I don't know why. Make sure we have one on the same page. This, you have this.
Yes, I gave them all, yes,
That's the one we're working.
it's just the shed,
Correct.
the large shed.
Oh, I know.
Just in case everyone's looking at the architectural plan, there's another plan that I gave you with the application.
Yeah.
They're only doing the shed, not.
Not
I met with Mark Barrington on my property, and Mark suggested eliminate all the gravel that you saw there in the original big plan here. So I eliminated that and revisited it
All
with
this
this
comes
smaller.
You don't have to worry about the shaded areas.
Correct.
Just the 360. Very good.
It's a garage.
Okay. It's a structure. What do you do with that?
By ordinance, it's a garage.
That's why we're here.
Well, the whole accessory, you
Accessory structures.
basically that's all.
There.
My wife says, you know, 23 bicycles, generator, snow blower, lawnmower.
All right. Yeah, you want to begin your testimony?
Yeah, originally I wanted to build a 200 square foot shed. That I understand in R 22.5 I can do with a maximum height of 12 feet with a 10-foot setback. But I felt that that was gonna be too small for my needs, so then I wanted to build a larger shed. This is now 13 feet back when the variance requires 40 and and it increases the building coverage to 16.9 if I'm not mistaken. For the shed, for the garage. Accessory structure.
Can you just give a quick background of your property?
Sure,
location?
my parents bought it in 1988. I came there from high school. I actually joined the fire department. I've been on the fire department here for 31 years. I moved out, went to college, lived in Montvale, still maintained on the fire department here because you kind of know the guys and whatnot. So the house has always been in the family. My brother bought the house across the street. So when my parents died, my brother said, "Hey, when you go to live across the street from me?" And I thought, "Yeah, okay." And my wife's like, "No, but I like some of that." But I convinced her, and so we bought my brother out of the estate and I bought the house. And then we've been there for 7 years, and I just celebrated 31 years on private park.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. But can you talk about the property?
Sure, I got, sorry, I got beautiful pictures. Currently, when you see here is really just, you know, mulch. It's just a big mess out there, because I'd always planned on building a shed. If you look at the pictures that I can pass around on my iPad here, the rest of my property, it's all very nicely landscaped. Actually, my best friend is a landscaper, and I have green giant arborvitaes all around the property, all on this side too. And then the next photo is the area in question. So that back area there is what you see in these pictures here. So I wanted to put it in the back area of the property instead of out in the middle of my grass area, which would have been the 40 feet off the back of the property. So that area really is, nothing's going on back there. It's just, I've already had the approval to remove trees last year, so I removed 2 trees in preparation for the shed. Didn't get my paperwork organized, so I'm here now when I should have done it, according to my wife 3 years ago. My wife's always right, I don't. Yeah, that's a problem. My plan is to then, after the shed is built, landscape it like the rest of my house.
Any fence or anything like that, or?
I have met with my neighbors behind me, the Murphys, and have offered to plant green giants back there just because they look really nice. Problem is I can't grow them on my side because they have big pine trees on their side. So I've offered to pay for it to have them on their side to shade, you know, the look of this, for example. I'd be willing to put a fence, whatever would need to be done to, make everybody happy.
Just bringing up from former testimony.
Good neighbor.
Former application, good neighbor.
And then I brought pictures of what the shed was gonna look like, just so I'm not making some big eyesore kind of thing. And these dormers are gonna be on the back and front, so it's not looking at just a wall of roof. If you know what I mean, so I'm trying to make it look a little bit nicer.
All right, well, we should mark those for the record. Okay, so how many photos do you have? You have copies or just one set?
Take them, I'm hanging up all in my house.
Is it pre-built?
All right.
It's the Amish, would build it on site because they can't truck it the way it is, so they come and build it on site.
That's our article, and it's pretty fantastic.
The Amish know how to build stuff, and it's
All right, so
nicely built.
for the record, the witness. Hold it up. It's 8 photographs altogether, one has it on both sides. So we'll mark these 8 photographs to A6. And yeah, we can pass these around. Sure.
Okay.
Oh, wait, are you done with, you're not done with your testimony, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right,
So
maybe.
I saw some type of, I don't know, some type of, is it a quad or something that you have?
Oh, no, that's just the, stop, it's right there.
Oh,
It's on that section.
that's not-
I don't own a quad. No.
Oh, I know it's a good driveway leading toward this.
No, I don't have a 4-wheeler. No, that's just showing a picture what the inside looks like from the Amish,
Gotcha. I don't think the Amish drive now.
Is they don't. But they're trying to tell you.
Could you just pass the photos?
No, I don't remember.
Members
what.
and
So
pass
it's
them
only
back this
clear
way.
music structure.
So I got 3 bicycles. I plan on buying 2 electric bikes, generators, 2 snow blowers. Plan on buying riding lawnmower, lawn tools, backpack blower, hand truck, ladders, camping supplies, lawn spreader, power washer.
No other, no big.
And for him to live there.
It's a he shed.
That's,
Yeah.
that's my wife.
Guess they share the same last name residence.
Same residence, same last name.
Is there any type of driveway, walkway, other
So the-
structures you
so
need to?
Mark
access?
Barger, if you look at the little picture suggested via Neglia, that I could put a 5-foot walkway down to the side street there. That was the only, walkway entrance to.
Because you are the corner there, so.
I'm on the corner, correct.
Wait, you're saying that was suggested to you?
Yes, well, that, in lieu of what was suggested to me, it was that if I took away all of the gravel that I wanted to do on this plan, that I could
then have a walkway. Take away all that gravel, and then I have a walkway going up there.
Side street.
A walkway to what, Hillcrest?
Correct.
For what purpose?
I have no idea.
What, are you proposing a walkway or no?
I don't need a walkway, no.
I thought you were eliminating the walkway, but. No, yes,
I can eliminate the walkway.
okay, any other questions from the board members? I have some questions, but I'll defer.
But the walkway is not, he's not in violation, the walkway doesn't
No.
affect the coverage or anything like that, right? It's just a walkway, right? Nothing impervious coverage. It's just the structure you're looking for the variance on. Okay, just want to make that, get everyone on the same page. You could put building office and down and be fine.
Negley, I think in their final letter approved the walkway.
Okay, well, no, they said you're removing all this 1,176 feet of gravel that was on there. Just getting everyone on the same page.
But it doesn't approve the
Okay.
applications.
Okay, I don't.
The board approves applications.
Right, my first time.
Make recommendations, but I'm looking at the Neglia review letter and Anthony, do you see anything in there with regards to the walkway?
No, because it wasn't on the plans that we had, so. It's okay. I mean, if you want it, propose it. If you don't, you know, it's not a. Yeah.
Thank you.
We have no objection.
Any other, I have some questions, but any questions for the board members first? Okay, I have some hard questions.
Sure.
for you.
Sure, that's right.
All right.
Go ahead.
In looking at your survey,
Yes, sir.
I see your driveway
Yes, sir.
and how many car garage you have?
Well, it's, back in the day, it was considered a 2-car garage, but when you have a fireplace in there, you can only get 1 car.
Okay. Yeah, okay,
Shouldn't be, you know.
and then you have the macadam, which would go straight to the garage, and then a little bump out that goes towards the side of the house?
Correct.
Okay, and it looks like you have almost a 20-foot side yard there, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then there's a designated area of gravel. On your survey at least? You have your survey?
I do have my survey.
I mean, yeah, it could have changed. Let's see, what's the date of this? Oh, no, it's May 30th, 2024.
May 8th, 2020, maybe?
Right below that, it's revised May 30th.
I would see that one and then.
It is nice.
Right there. Oh, yeah, yes, sir.
Is, I'm just right now.
Yeah.
There's gravel there?
There's gravel.
Okay.
It's like a little fire pit area.
Okay, all right. So my question to you is, you could locate this garage 40 feet from the rear yard line and 20 feet, okay, from the side yard. You know, in essence, in line with your house, which would not be in the middle of the backyard, correct?
So I just want to make sure I understand your question. You want to say 40 feet from the back of the property?
Well, that's a requirement.
Yes, I understand that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, 40 feet from the rear
Sure. Understood.
yard line, okay, and then 20 feet from the side yard.
Understood.
Okay. And that wouldn't be in the middle of your backyard, would it?
Well, I would tend to disagree with you because I have all grass going from the existing deck basically all the way back to where this proposed shed is. So that's all grass.
Okay, what's the dimensions of the garage?
It's 15 by 24.
Okay, so it's 15 feet wide, like 24 feet deep?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so if you're 20 feet from the side yard, then you add 15 feet, you'd be only 35 feet into the property from the side yard, correct?
What I was looking at was if I put a 200 square foot shed, I could be 10 feet off the back of the property line. Correct? And that's a 10 by 20 shed.
So all I was doing was moving it further away from the back of the property. Going 4 feet longer. And 7 feet wider. So I prefer not to put it in my grass backyard. I prefer to put it in the really messy area back here where there's really nothing in preparation for the shed. That was why I cut down the trees.
Let me have you consider something else, okay? You have all this equipment that you mentioned that you like to keep in this garage.
Yes.
Okay, wouldn't it be more convenient if you came down your driveway and went along the side of your house and then put it into the garage? And you could move the garage, you know, closer to the house. If you want, where, say, in the vicinity of that area where gravel's depicted.
I don't have a picture of that area, but it's all very nicely landscaped with stones that go around the perimeter, gravel, a fire pit, all landscaping along the fence line there. I think that, sorry?
Is from the backyard, doesn't it slope?
I slope, yes.
Pretty far straight? Yeah.
Yes.
The elevations.
So that's why I thought put it in the very back area of the property, you know, just because that seemed like the most ideal spot. If I brought it up closer to where the gravel area is, then it's gonna be right in the middle of the backyard. And up where the gravel area is toward the back, where the shed is proposed, it slopes quite a bit. So, I don't have a picture of that specifically. But you can see possibly that the line of trees that I've already planted slope downward. And that's why I thought that area back there, where there's nothing, is better than 40 feet would bring it probably about here in my property, which is pretty significant in the backyard.
Look, but you don't have to put it in the middle, you only have to put it 20 or 35 feet from the side yard, you understand that, right?
And I'm putting it 27 feet from the side yard. If you needed to go 30 feet from the side yard, I can move it 30 feet. I only did it because there's a little retaining wall there and I thought that might make a nice transition.
I think you're missing my point.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I don't have any other questions.
You said that you offered to help with the landscaping in the back. You
Sure.
spoke with your neighbors. Were your neighbors receptive to this, or did they have?
They're here tonight. So we didn't come up with a resolution other than they told me they were gonna show up tonight.
Okay.
What is the exterior going to be?
Exterior.
What is the exterior going to be? Was it accurately depicted in the pictures or?
It's going to be,
Are you
uh,
making it match your house? I'm not.
yeah. I have red vertical cedar siding that is painted gray. I hadn't finalized the exterior, but it's going to be nice, yes, like depicted in the pictures.
Okay, I didn't know if you were matching your house and making it look like that or. mine
That'd be
just-
really nice, and matter of fact, just going through this process, I haven't been, have all the final decisions, because if I can't build that, then I'm gonna just buy a pre-made one that's 200 square foot and, you know, put 10 feet wide.
I was just wondering what they were going to be looking at, like mine over the years has just sort of disappeared into the landscape.
Sure,
because It's just
sure.
natural wood.
Sure,
You don't
so
even notice it anymore.
I laid it out, we met at my property, and I showed them on the, I made it all blocked out on my property, that a 200 square foot shed, 10 by 20, 10 feet off the property line, I marked that. So they're gonna look at 20 feet of shed, no matter what. I then moved it 13 feet, did 24 by 15 to show them, essentially, they're only looking at 4 feet longer of the shed on the side view, further away from the property line.
Okay, other questions for you, okay, I have the 8 photographs. Is this the style garage that you're going to construct?
Yes.
Okay, and the color scheme you haven't picked out yet?
It's gonna be similar to the color of my house. I might go with black windows, because everybody likes black windows now instead of white windows.
So at least,
I don't know.
if it's approved, we can put in the resolution that it will be the style as depicted
Absolutely. It's not gonna be bright red barn looking.
All right, you mentioned the topography, so from the back of your house towards that rear yard.
Yep.
Okay, it slopes downward?
Correct.
Okay,
But then it levels off at the bottom there where I was gonna build the shed.
okay, all right, so are you saying that it's because of the topography that you think that shed location is a better location?
No, I think visually in my backyard is better than, you know, for example, if the next owner
I
wants to
think you
build a
misunderstood my
pool.
question.
Okay, okay.
Are you saying that because of the topography, you want to locate this garage where you propose it?
No,
No, it's not because of the topography.
no,
Why is it?
because it would be too close to the property in my lawn if I built it closer.
You want to preserve open space?
I'd like to. My nieces and nephews come over, we play soccer in the backyard, you know, it's a nice grass backyard.
Just from the plan, I'm sorry, is there gonna be a garage door on the side of Hillcrest?
So it's.
Or it's because it shows the one does and the other one didn't, that's why.
Right, so I'm debating of a roll-up door or barn door side, something, just to get a riding lawnmower in and out,
Easy access, okay.
big enough.
Okay. One door or two doors? The picture showed a barn door on one side and looks like an overhead garage door on the other.
Correct, so on my, facing from my house down, it'll be two double doors.
Okay.
And then from the side view, it's probably gonna be a roll-up garage door.
Is that towards Hillcrest or the other?
Hillcrest.
Oh, I don't know.
Motion to open the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Come on down.
How are you? So if you can, please state your name and town you live in.
Sure, Catherine Murphy, Whipple Lake.
Okay.
I'm sorry, just say your name is Nick.
Nick.
Thank you.
Nicholas.
Nicholas.
So you're the neighbor that abuts his property?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I think we'll dispense you with our normal rules, so
Okay.
you can ask questions of the witness if you have any questions. And you can also make comments about the application.
So we have letters that are okay to distribute, and then we can read it, or what do you prefer?
Yeah, we usually don't accept letters, but you're here, and if you're giving testimony, then we'll put you under oath, okay? All right, so why don't we do that? Raise your right hand, you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Yeah, yes?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so you can, now you can read the letter because that would be testimony.
Sure. To the Woodcliff Lake Zoning Board of Adjustments, we are submitting this letter to state that we are not in support of the requested variance for 23 Maple Hope Drive. We believe that the structure should comply with the current zoning ordinances. For context, we live downhill from two properties, 23 and 17 Maple Hole Drive. Our backyards back up to theirs. We have a line of pines in our yard that allows some privacy between our house and 23 Maple Hole Drive, along with a few mature oaks. We can see portions of the two properties from our dining room, family, and deck, on which we spent a significant amount of time. We strongly feel that such a large structure that is above and beyond the existing ordinance should not be so close to our property line. The existing ordinance was presumably devised by experts in the field, like urban planners and engineers, and helped make our neighborhood green, open, and spacious, leafy, and safe. Allowing this variance has direct impacts to us. It would reduce the value, desirability, and overall nature of our property, and could allow for a bad precedent or other properties maybe pushing for similar variances. We have faith in the existing ordinance, and we have no problem, nor should we, with any structures that follow the ordinance, if it is changed in the future. If the town wants to change these regulations, then the board should move to do so with the support of all residents en masse. Thank you for your consideration, Nick and Katie Murphy.
Can I ask you for a copy of that? Letter?
Sure. I have multiple. 'cause I'm big on-
And we'll mark-
Okay.
We'll mark it O1 for identification. Yeah, okay, I just want to get that passed out. and then- Take care of that. Thank you. Plenty, more than enough. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, can you raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes,
Can you state your full name and address for the record?
Nick Murphy, 2 Hillcrest Road.
Okay, you can testify, you can make comments, and you can even ask questions of the witness.
Oh, yeah, I don't think I had any additional thing to say other than what was in. Yeah, not really anything additional, unless you had questions from you.
No, it's your opportunity.
I mean, I guess the one thing I'll say is, you made the point that, he's talking about the viewing angle of the length of the shed. 20 feet versus 24 feet, but, you know, our property line is 200 feet, so it's that angle, this is one angle that we view the shed. It's a large structure that you're gonna see from, you know, we're not standing in one place in the property. I think we have just concerns that it changes the general character of the neighborhood. And that's, you know, why we bought the house 6 years ago, and it's what I think we've invested in. I think that when we sell the house, you know, a long time from now, I think it's gonna be the same way.
Fair to say that you object to the application? Did you discuss any buffer with the homeowner?
He proposed, you know, plantings, buffers, but I think he mentioned a couple of times that to grow properly, he wanted them to go into our yard. We're just not sure how we feel about it.
I'm also like,
Pushing out into-
I look at that space a lot and with the sunlight and everything, and the green giants would not grow that well there in terms of being able to provide the privacy that I think that we would want from such a large structure. The 13 feet also, I mean, you need to give a lot more space, I think, something like those trees to grow to their full height. So I think they would grow sparsely, if not well at all.
You have some pine trees on your property?
We do, but they're
They're-
white pine maybe, they're like kind of, they're not like the green giants where it's
Yeah,
like,
very
yeah. And oak and other trees.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
Directly behind. So, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Go ahead.
It's which, on the site from Nagel, it's. You're right behind.
We're on the south line.
So you're right here. So you, the back of your house, the shed would be right here. Okay.
Do you have a fence on your property?
We don't, and one of the things that we really love about the neighborhood in general is just like the natural landscaping, I think that's. We have a large corner lot too, so it's like we have up to actually 4 different properties. One of them that has it in the kitty corner.
Big shed up in the top corner.
Yeah, the top corner,
Yeah,
yeah.
top right hand corner is one.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, your address again?
2 Hillcrest.
Are you sloped? I'm just trying to get my mind right, because I live sort of near.
Yeah.
Are you sloped down?
We are sloped down,
Yeah.
so they're uphill and all, yeah.
So you can still, like, it's not enough of a slope that you wouldn't necessarily. Or you're looking at the top portion of the.
We would see everything.
The whole thing.
Yeah, and there is also like a height variance that is a few feet above what the ordinance allows, so you would see everything. The other thing is also like being on Hillcrest, and anybody who lives in that area, you know that all the water kind of goes down towards the school, right? So I think the larger square footage, again, I know that you guys mentioned there's like a draining plan that would have to go in place, but there is a lot of water that comes down there. And it pushes all the leaves actually when we blow them downhill with it, so there's no like other drains on that road, so it all comes on.
Currently, I think you said you have visibility, your dining room faces that property.
We can see out of our dining room and our family, yeah. Which is kind of, if you look at our driveway, it's to the left above the garage.
Do you currently see the, home? Well, at least any part of the deck or home in those windows?
We can, but it's further away, so.
I have a picture. With the photo that I can see their property from their house. Because their pines are so thin. I've offered to plant the green giants on their property, pay for them, do that, because if I plant them on mine, on the side of the pines, they won't get any sunlight from their pine trees. So I've offered to pay to put them on their side of the property. Put 10 green giants, for example. And if you look at some of those slides, go left and right, you'll see how big the green giants get. They get quite large. You know, mine are probably 25 feet tall on the one side of my left hand.
Again, that's in full summit. This area is partial shade or total shade. The further you get into the corner, the middle of our property, that becomes full shade where the pines are.
And again, I mentioned earlier that they're still gonna see 20 feet of a shade, no matter what, without, you know, and it's gonna be closer to their property.
You are aware of that? Of course, yeah, just.
Yeah.
Making sure.
But yeah,
everybody's on the
we
same
did
page.
mention the multiple angles too, right?
The,
So,
I mean,
which is, and I wish that we did not bring pictures of our backyard. So our backyard, basically, there's like a step and there's a retaining wall in the back. Where there's like an oak tree area where the kids play, and that's like a deeper portion of the park, right? Basically, yeah, it goes into the corner, so I don't know if it's perfectly square, but. Yeah,
just, I think you said that it didn't meet the height requirement.
when we had spoken the other day, I think, Rich, you mentioned 14.7, and the zone, it's
14.9.
14.9, and the standard is 12? Is that
No,
correct?
for a garage, it's 15.
It's 15, okay.
Yeah.
So,
But it's supposed to be 40 feet. It's considered a structure.
Yeah,
It's not a shed,
Yeah.
it's a structure, garage, so it has to be 40 feet. He could put a smaller shed closer to the property.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what we said in the letter, we are, if it meets the existing ordinance, then we are obligated to, support that, and we won't.
Nothing you could do
Yeah,
about that.
that's fine. No, and that's,
Okay, so, but just to correct the record, okay. It does meet the height requirement. Doesn't meet the rear yard setback. Can have a smaller size shed, okay, more closer to the property line. Okay, anything else you'd like to say?
yeah, I guess, I would just have it. So in terms of, do you want to ask a question? Just like in terms of, I know he's not applying for like the landscaping, right? That's like separate, that would be like a separate obligation.
Well, he doesn't need a variance for landscape,
Yeah.
so.
That would just be on his word if it does get.
Other than what you
Yes.
just heard, okay, he's not proposing anything other than. The good neighbor type policy that he'll plant something on your property, you heard. So
And if this gets approved and he does plant the trees on your property, is that, would those trees be very far over on your property in order for them to grow? Does that interfere with your backyard? Is that something that
I mean, if we just, yeah.
you're not open to that? Even if they keep it to the structure here, you don't want the trees?
I'm not a landscape designer, but I don't think so. That's what I'm aware.
Yeah, I know the way that trees grow. I look at them all like I garden, and I don't think that those trees would do well. I don't think that there is a natural landscaping component that would give us that privacy.
anything else?
Can I come make a comment?
Yeah, you can make it, yeah, you can make a closing comment.
The mention was the trees wouldn't grow well there. They wouldn't grow well if they were planted on my property, as you said, because of the pine trees. But I don't think planting on their property as screening, that they would grow very well, because there's all sun on that side. I've offered to build a fence.
But if you plant them on their property and they don't do well, they're responsible for the maintenance and upkeep, not you, because once they're on their property, they're a gift to them essentially. And then if they don't grow, they'd be responsible for taking them out or, you know, anything that's associated with those trees, once you plant them on their property, is then their responsibility, is that correct?
I'm not that kind of neighbor that if they died in 6 months, I wouldn't replace it.
But-
And you put that on the record. I planted some of these trees on my property, but yes, I totally understand your point,
That's just, yeah.
but they grow well inside. And water.
And is there any way, I mean, we're talking about putting it, like 15 feet, about 25 feet, like if you moved it, is there any way to compromise a little, to move the shed a little bit more? Is it then not flat? Is there a reason that we're looking for 15 feet and there's not another solution back there?
I can move it, you know, a couple more feet if that's what we're looking for. And I don't have a problem with that, I just didn't want to put it in my grass backyard, so. And as I said, it's still, one way or another, it's gonna be at least 20 feet. That's gonna be visible through their trees. Their trees are very whispery and very visible. And technically it's on their side yard, it's not in their backyard, so they would be looking through their side yard. They don't really hang out on their side yard. And then when we had met at my property, they had mentioned that they want to build a shed. And they thought it might be a good location to be somewhat close to where I was building my shed, so that it wouldn't be so bad. So I thought there was a compromise there, a meeting of the minds, but.
I guess the question was like, if you shifted it in, then you could plant the trees on your property.
No, because their pine trees are so big that sunlight doesn't come between my shed and my property line.
Even if you created more space for them on your lawn?
They would have to be probably, I have pictures of the pine trees. I mean, they're massive.
40 feet.
They're really-
Yeah.
Those are
You know,
really-
They're, I know, it's true. So you see, I get a shade. I don't get any sun back there in that part of the property.
Can I make one comment? The fact that it's in the side yard versus the backyard is negligible. We are in the yard all the time. We have 2 young kids, we're always there. So, I mean, they play in the whole spot.
We live on a corner, so.
Yeah.
It's all side yard.
So technically, if you were to move it out of the, let's call it, the zoning question, you would just have to comply with the, you have 15% on the lot coverage, and it's 16.92, so you'd have to figure out. The variance you'd have to go for that is 1.93% with the structure.
But my property is already over the lot coverage at 15.46.
I think the bigger part of it today or tonight, correct me if I'm wrong, is it's the location of the potential structure
Yeah.
is really a piece at hand.
I think it's location, the location of the shed relative to the size. So if you look at the ordinance, it allows for 200 square feet and this is 360 square feet. And then he's moving it from 10 to 13 feet instead of the 40 feet, which is much bigger, but to me, that's a big difference. So, yeah.
I get it, his lot tapers in as you get closer, it's, you're the corner and there's, right? It's like having 2 front yards and there's a lot of pieces going on. because of your
Yeah,
lot
different
design.
requirements for a shed.
I didn't want to cut down more trees to
You can
move it
be
over.
closer to the property line with the shed.
Just looking at
Is it
what
20?
you have to work with here.
Let's see if I have.
Anybody else have questions?
If it was a smaller shed, is the height for the shed the same, or is it lower height? Because I remember, Sally, you said that it was 15 feet based on the size, that it's the garage structure. If it was a shed, a 200 square foot shed, what would the 12 feet?
Yeah, so it's 2'7" taller, but the roof line is further away because of the width of the property. Like a 200 square foot
I think
shed,
that's correct.
I wouldn't have any of those transom windows, so it would just be a wall of roof that they would look at, as well as the shed. I tried to make it more appealing, that it wouldn't look so ugly.
Any questions, anyone?
Yeah, it's not considered a shed because it's over 200 square feet.
I mean, I said I'd build a fence because that would offer some sort of buffer as well. So I thought that would be amenable.
Okay, motion to close to the public.
Motion. Yeah, second.
Second.
They so we need a motion to deny or a motion to approve and justification for the variance.
Yeah.
And if there's any conditions in the Neglia letter, there's requirements for, should the board vote favorably for grading and drainage plan sealed by a licensed professional engineer. And depending upon what soil is moved, the soil moving permit is required from the borough for greater than 75 feet of void. So it would also have to comply with the Neglia recommendations and comments in the letter of April 4th, 2025.
Board members, anybody?
You have a question? I don't think so. Okay. Yeah.
Guys have to, this is where I don't be the first person to talk in this room as usual.
Oh, look at you.
I'm finally getting the benefit of Broadway.
Yeah, I feel like every.
Not so easy.
Now.
Now, and I feel for both sides, I mean, neighbors and town members, and it's, there's an honest, you know, will or wish on both sides, I get it, I get it.
I just have-
This is tough one.
I have a question for the board here. So if he goes with the 200 square foot, what's the setback to the property line?
10 feet.
So he's gonna move this
Within the
back.
ordinance.
So you're
So
gonna
it will
move
be
this back.
back.
It'll be back even further. to
Further.
the
So it'll be
property.
closer to the property, but a smaller structure, or it could be farther, I mean. I know the size is not a ton, but could we condition it on being 20 feet?
I could go for that.
20 feet?
No, the 12-foot, you know, if the 12-foot, structure is, it's 160 feet. 160 square feet, we're talking about.
No, what he wants is over 300 square feet. What's the size?
36.
Yeah.
Yes,
17 by 60
square
square
feet.
feet.
60 more than the 200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um,
And the shed is 20.
I mean, look, there's a lot of options here. And you know, these are the tough decisions that board members you know, have to make, but there are options here.
I just have one question for you. How much further towards your house could it come before it starts hitting the hill slope?
Slope?
Yeah, 'cause it slopes down to this shed. That's the one thing I noticed when I drove.
I mean,
You come forward 5 more
Probably-
feet.
to be honest, it's gotta be at least 10 or 15 feet, you know, levels out there. But that's the. Thanks.
That's what he asked.
Yes, how much level out?
How much further
Further,
can the
how much
shed,
further
can you move the
shed
shed
would
to
go
your
on
house?
the That's.
Before it affects, because the slope is, if you build a house, if you build a shed here, you're on the slope. So you have to build a foundation, you have to build a structure.
Okay.
I'm just, the hardship I was looking at. was
The slope, so
Going
we
down,
moved
just put it
it,
up here, you're dealing.
so if we moved it.
The problem with the 10 feet is now all of that, you know, I don't get runoff, but it gets marshy,
So if we,
wet.
Just an idea. You got, obviously, it's, you're looking at the wide part of it,
Yeah.
right? That's. Compromise, can you turn it?
Well, it's all
They'll still have the same, obviously,
No, I totally agree.
it'll reduce their sight
Their
lines,
sightline.
and the majority will face out to the street. I'm just,
No,
we're trying to create solutions here.
I appreciate it.
Because now it's actually will be narrower, right? It's 17 by. What, 15 by, yeah, so you got 20, you can reduce the visual footprint by 5 feet. It'll just run a little further this way. Just trying to maybe put a compromise.
Totally understand. I think I was trying to follow the back of the property line.
No, I get it.
You know, and then how I don't have to look at an angle, they don't have to look at, you know, and when I angled it, I think they're probably gonna see more of it. Because of where they sit on their back deck.
Yeah.
They're gonna see more of it versus the way it will be now, it's kind of, the sight line is not as. I appreciate the idea.
No, it's just, it's a visual impact
I don't
study
think
for both of you.
I don't think the orientation affects our site at all.
I was just saying
It's
that
more of the.
if his application was denied, there's gonna be a 10 by 20 showing up in his yard in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Bigger, right? And
And
so.
close, and closer
I
to
was
the
just
property.
trying to.
We're trying to figure out how to make it
Just
so.
trying to figure out how we get the pizza in the box maybe a different way, so.
Yeah.
We need a motion. You can, it's his application, okay? If he wants to amend his application for less than he applied for, he can do it. You want to amend your application?
To what?
Well, that's for the rear yard setback to be 20 feet instead of what you proposed 13 feet. I believe.
7 more feet. Give you more, it's not like planting.
No, no, it's nothing's gonna grow there, it's just gonna be dead space,
All
that's the
right.
whole thing, it's just like. That firewood back there or something, Sure, if that's what needs to happen, but.
Are you the live stream? It's a large structure though, shouldn't the standards be in place?
Well, you heard every other applicant have a variance for what they're going for, I'm just asking for a variance.
Well, sir, you know what, you can't argue with anyone, and, we've exhausted this application. They're entitled to their opinion, their objections, you're entitled to make your application. Board has a tough decision to make, and
I'd be willing to move it to 20 feet.
And then that just takes us to, the coverage, correct?
yeah, there's still the cover.
And it's just a matter of being 1% over the coverage. Which is, once again, de minimis.
Yeah, let's see, he's already over by 0.46, and he proposes to be 16.92. So that would be, well, overall 1.92, and the increase 1.46 increase coverage.
It's similar to what we just talked about in last application. It's this one.
I think the objection is with regard to the setback. The rear yard
When
setback.
he talked about moving it forward 20 feet,
20 is
so
right.
then it relieves him of that.
Is that?
Of that,
I'm sorry.
that variance.
Yeah, a little clarification.
It just becomes the size of it.
If the structure remains the same square footage.
Hmm?
It's 20. Is the setback 20 feet?
40 feet.
So let me just, can I get some clarification of what moving the 20 feet is gonna change on the next application?
It just reduces the amount of the variance.
Okay, it's just the amount.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we'll still need a variance from that.
he still needs a variance.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just reiterate, we had an issue with the size and this.
Yeah,
Right.
But
You're contesting the application.
I think it's tricky because, you know, if it's not this, then it will just be closer. And almost as big.
Yeah.
and also be closer, we also, if students opt to be closer to the observer, the appearance of things like this, right?
Right, so that's why even if we moved it up a little bit, then maybe it has more of the appearance of what.
Being further.
Yeah, of what being closer and smaller
Right.
would do.
I think you can understand what the board's trying to do is apply a reasonableness standard here, and I think from the testimony you've heard, there's going to be something there someday soon, okay? It's a question of how close, as close as 10 feet and how large.
But why isn't the reasonableness standard the actual ordinance? I guess that's something I don't understand.
It's, it's not a standard. I mean, the ordinance is the ordinance. The board is here to grant exceptions, okay, from the ordinance. If there's justification for it. But I think what the board is trying to express to you is you're going to see something someday, and it may be as close as 10 feet. And would you be better off seeing something 20 feet from that rear yard versus 10 feet, albeit somewhat larger, okay? So it's going to be something is what the board's trying to tell you. And look, the board members are residents in the town, we're your neighbors, okay? They like to see people be agreeable whenever possible. And that's why you have good board members here that try to come up with a solution rather than have something that both parties are going to be unhappy with. That's all.
The other thought with 20 feet is because if the side yard setbacks are 20 feet, so if they were to put it on the side next to a neighbor. So like treating it that way,
Well, again, we're back to a motion.
Somebody's got to.
I'll make the motion for the 20% back.
Make it conditional.
Conditional 20% back.
Okay, with meeting the conditions. Right, so
second.
All right. Mr. Briskin,
Oh, yes.
Ms. Whitridge Carluccio,
Yes.
Councilwoman Marsh,
Yes.
Mr. Penza,
No.
Mr. Barbara,
Yes.
Mr. Mazur. Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
it's approved.
okay, thank you. 20 feet.
Motion to adjourn.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We got it.
Wow.
Yeah.